By the time you got home tonight, you were exhausted and you didn't do anything that day. No fight. No bad news. Just a normal day of watching. The stranger's clenched jaw. Your coworker's forced laugh. The pause before your friend answered. You absorbed all of it. And now you're sitting in the dark, too full to move. If you're someone whose brain refuses to switch off, who walks out of a normal conversation feeling like you just sat an exam, this is about you. You don't notice too much because you want to. You notice because you cannot stop. And you're about to feel very seen. Because there's a name for what your mind is doing. And once you understand it, you'll finally be able to explain the thing nobody around you has ever quite believed about you. The world has a word for you, and it's rarely kind, too sensitive. Overthinker, paranoid, intense. People say it like it's a flaw you should fix, like you're a radio picking up static nobody asked for. You've probably even said it to yourself late at night, wishing you could just be normal, just let things go like everyone else seems to. But here's the truth they get wrong. What feels like a weakness is actually your nervous system running at a higher resolution than most people's ever will. Psychologists call it sensory processing sensitivity. Basically, your brain takes in more of the raw data around you and processes it more deeply before it lets anything go. You're not imagining the tension in the room. You're detecting a real signal while everyone else is still deciding what to order. The micro expression that flickers across a face for a fifth of a second, the word chosen instead of another word, the gap between what someone says and how their body says it, you catch all of it, automatically, whether you asked to or not. And there's one specific thing in your early life that turned this dial all the way up, that decided whether your gift feels like a superpower or a life sentence. But we'll get to that. Here's the part nobody talks about, though. This trait isn't rare enough to be celebrated, and it isn't common enough to be understood. It sits in the exact worst spot, right in between. Here's something wild. Research on sensory processing sensitivity suggests that roughly 15 to 20% of people are born with this trait. 1 in 5. So you're not broken and you're not alone, but you're also outnumbered 4 to 1 by people who genuinely cannot feel what you feel in a room. And that gap, that 4 to 1 gap, is the whole reason they keep calling you dramatic. They're not lying. They really didn't notice. They physically couldn't. There's a brain region behind all of this, the part that filters what deserves your attention and what gets thrown away. In you, that filter is quieter. More gets through. Studies using brain imaging show that highly sensitive people have stronger activity in the regions tied to awareness, emotional processing, and empathy. Think about that for a second. When you look at another person's face, your brain literally lights up more than theirs does. You're not choosing to care harder. Your hardware is just louder. But wait, it gets more uncomfortable than that. Here's the part your own group doesn't want to hear. You tell yourself your read on people is pure accuracy, and often it genuinely is, but the same system that catches real danger can also manufacture it out of nothing. Your radar can't always tell the difference between a friend who's secretly hurting and a friend who just slept badly. So sometimes the story you build about someone is simply wrong, and you defend it anyway because it felt so certain in the moment. That certainty, that feeling of just knowing, is the exact place your gift turns into a trap. But here's what's fascinating. This ability doesn't show up as one clean thing. It shows up as a specific set of everyday experiences that you've probably lived 1,000 times and never once had a name for. The first is living a few seconds ahead of every conversation. You ask a coworker if they want to grab lunch, and before they even answer, you already know the answer. You caught the shoulders tighten, the eyes drop to the side. The no arrives fully formed in your head before it ever reaches their mouth. And then you have to stand there, performing surprise, nodding along to an excuse you decoded 10 seconds ago. It's like watching a movie where the subtitles show up before anyone speaks. Everything is a slightly boring rerun. And let's be honest about something. The second experience is emotional secondhand smoke. Picture this. It's a Tuesday, 6 in the evening, and you step into an elevator with two strangers who clearly just had a fight. Nobody says a word. The doors close. It's 10 silent floors. But when you step out, your chest is tight and your mood has dropped through the floor, and you're carrying a heaviness that was never yours to begin with. You just got poisoned by tension you had no part in creating. And here's where that early life dial finally comes in, the thing I promised you at the start. For some people, this sensitivity is simply inborn, written into them from birth. But for others, it was installed. Clinical psychology calls this parentification. It's what happens when a child is quietly forced to become the emotional caretaker of a fragile or unstable parent. That kid learned to read a room the way other kids learned to read books, because reading the room was survival. Was mom about to break down today? Was dad about to explode? You watched every flicker so you could get ahead of it and manage it. And here's the cruel part. You grew up, you moved out, but that radar never once turned off. It just found new rooms to scan. And this next part explains so much about why you and the people who call you too much can never quite meet in the middle. Because there's a hidden cost to being the one who always sees it first. And it isn't the tiredness, it's something much lonelier than that. Here's the part that actually hurts. You spend your whole life reading everyone else's smallest signals, and slowly, without noticing, you stop having a shape of your own. You become water. You pour into whoever's standing in front of you. Quiet for the quiet ones, bright for the loud ones, careful for the difficult ones. And then the door closes at night, and you look in the mirror. And you honestly cannot say what you feel, because there's no one left in the room to read. For some people, noticing everyone else isn't connection at all. It's a hiding place, because feeling other people is so much easier than feeling yourself. So ask yourself honestly, do you read the room because it fills you up, or because disappearing into other people is easier than being seen? One of those is a gift. The other one is a cage you built yourself. So here's what I need you to actually hear. You cannot turn this off, and you shouldn't try. You can't ask someone with perfect pitch to stop hearing the wrong note in a song. The goal was never to notice less. The goal is to stop carrying everything you notice. So try this, and this is the part worth remembering. Next time your radar fires, name the fact, and then stop right there. They're not okay. Full stop. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to soften it. You don't have to become the cure. Let people have their bad days without appointing yourself the medicine. That single pause between what you observe and what you do about it is where your whole life gets lighter. And that early dial, the one I promised would explain everything, it did. It tells you your sensitivity was never damage. It's a lens with impossibly high resolution. And you don't smash a lens like that just because the people around you can't see through it. Your problem was never that you see too much. It's that you were never taught you're allowed to put some of it down. Keep the lens, put down the weight. They were never the same thing.